Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
And this is Kai, and we have another great discussion for you today. The movie of the day, we're actually doing two movies. It's a series, uh, Kill Bill. We're doing volume one and volume two. They're from 2003 and 2004, so they're almost legal to drink. So if you haven't watched them, we're still going to give you a spoiler alert, but they're old.
Yep, old, and we have a special guest. Patty has been on the podcast before, but this is the first time that we're recording ourselves, and Patty has joined us. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Patty. I cohabit with Jason and our dog Maya. Co-parent, co-housemate.
Yes, yes. But yeah, typically we have Patty in for our resident mafioso and mafia movie type of person. But we figured this Kill Bill series, Patty enjoys them. We'll kind of see if she still does enjoy them after we talk about them. But
Yeah, they're
yeah,
still my
so
favorite. They've been my favorite. They still are.
okay. But what I don't know, Kai, you want to talk about what was our general theme for this month that we chose and why Kill Bill kind of like was a selection?
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was a theme.
yeah. So yeah, this month is strong female leads, and yeah, we how could we not watch the Kill Bill series in that month?
Right. Yeah, that's why we had Annihilation, we have Jackie Brown recently
Mhm.
too, and Kill Bill was just a
Icing on the
fit.
cake.
Yeah, right. And we had like
Truly.
what? This is now three Tarantino movies that we
Yeah.
watched this month. So
Mm-hmm.
but we can start it off as to what we typically ask everyone or ourselves on this podcast. But Patty, we
Do
can start with
wait
you.
before we start. Do you
Oh,
want to finish? So before we started recording, I
okay.
mentioned I mentioned the fact that Kill Bill was actually supposed to be one long 4 hour movie, and you had some things ready to
Well,
Your face
it
lit
was
up,
discuss.
senor.
no, it was funny because I when we watched Kill Bill Volume 2 yesterday,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and I was like, I don't know who told someone must have. I was like, this movie was probably written as one
Yeah,
giant movie,
Miramax told him
and
not to.
Miramax told him to split it up.
Mm.
Miramax said, "Hey, split it up." Yeah,
That's another reason why we hate Weinstein and everything. But
hey,
but I was like, yeah, this is totally like you can tell this is one entire movie that and I wonder because the first movie comes out in 2003, like Kai said, and
and
the
then
second movie
04.
comes out in '04. So
Mm-hmm.
did he do the
Right
Lord of
away.
the Rings thing that like he must have just filmed it all at
Oh, for
once?
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's what happened. Like they filmed all of it, and then it's like, oh, hey, no, we're breaking this into two.
yeah.
Let's get
And
all this
also
money.
Tarantino does not typically have the reputation of having a movie come out like a new movie coming out right after
That
another.
quickly.
Yeah, so he
True.
typically does not. It's like 10 years or something. I don't know how long it are typically between his movies.
Probably at least a couple years. Yeah,
Mm,
Yeah,
quite a gap for you to
yeah.
notice.
yeah.
So yeah, that's why I wonder. But I wonder, did this add into the 10 film kind of number that he has? Like,
We
did
may
he?
have to look that one up because
Yeah.
they don't. There's no. I don't even know which movie. It might be Once Upon a Time that actually says like this is the ninth movie from Quentin Tarantino in the
Actually,
intro.
this one starts off as the first Kill Bill starts off as this
The
is the
first
fourth.
one, but the second one doesn't.
So I wonder.
So he
They don't
must have
count.
already been like, all right, this is two. Like this is one movie. I'm not gonna split it in. Maybe because remember, I think it was after we recorded a few days ago. I looked up the list or a list to see if he's ranked his movies, and they had 10 on there,
So that means he
but
has
he's only
10
made
movies total. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
but technically he only counts as nine.
9.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
right.
Kill
I
Bill's
would.
probably yeah.
I would
I
count
That
it
want
makes
as
more
nine.
movies
sense.
from him. Like
I know, right? Imagine if he was like done, like right now.
that's
Like
it. Hey,
technically he would be done.
10. Yeah, I'm out.
But all right, in terms of like, I can ask you both. Like, what are your thoughts on if you were to watch this all the way through? Like, he Patty was
That
like,
was.
yeah, like I think afterwards, like, oh, that probably would have been like a 4 hour movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would love to see one of his movies actually. If it's the last one, it would be really cool if it was actually 3.5 hours or 4 hours, like the
Yeah,
last movie that he's ever making, and it's that long. And I think how he does his movies,
it'd be
there's definitely
entertaining.
enough to keep you entertained,
Hmm. I
keep you
think
there. It doesn't feel like if it's long or whatever, but yeah.
I would love to see the director's cut of Once Upon a Time, because I think they have like a 4 hour cut of that.
There's also the Hateful Eight has like a big like 4K cut on Netflix. It's like eight
That's like
hours, I think,
super
or
long,
something.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a bunch of like episodes. It's like episodic,
yeah.
and
Oh man.
but it's
Oh
like a
yeah.
4K like upgrade to it and everything, and it
Okay.
adds in every. It's almost like when everyone was like so hyped up of like the Snyder cut of like the
No,
Justice League,
yeah.
and
It's
that
like
kind of went
super
down the
long.
toilet. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was like it was nothing anything different. It didn't change the movie. This, I
It
think,
did though. The Snyder cut did. That
It
was a
was,
dark
you
movie.
could tell
it
that it was more intentional, that that should have been the
Hmm.
movie.
I
But
think
yeah,
it made it
it was dark.
bearable. Like it made it bearable. I
Oh,
think
for
in
sure.
terms
Yeah,
of
Oh,
it
like a
added in
movie.
all the pieces that were missing from that
Yeah, it made it a
yes.
movie.
cohesive
Yeah.
sort of movie and everything. But I think when you get like these extended cuts from Tarantino, like it's an actual true director's cut.
Oh
Like
yeah,
this is
yeah.
exactly what he wanted to do.
Like I didn't
And
want to cut out this piece, this piece. Like you have everything. This is a flow.
yeah, and I wonder like director's cuts nowadays are just like special editions that they come out with
Yeah.
just for a money grab where like
Extra 10 minutes, and it's like, what's the point of
yeah,
this?
and I wonder if Tarantino actually has like the history also.
For
Like
sure.
we grew up kind of like director's cuts will come down like years down the road,
Hmm.
and it was because someone decided to convince the director to do it, and it was
Yeah,
more so it's like, all right, well, like I guess I'll do it the way I wanted to,
yeah.
but that's why you saw like differences, like where it's like, oh, did you watch the theatrical release or
Or
did
the
you watch the
director's
director's cut? Like,
cut.
there's a difference and stuff. But yeah, I guess like you can tell totally from the movie that there's end credits to the first movie, but it like almost doesn't fit. Where like the end credits to volume two are like
Makes sense.
yeah, it like it
Yeah,
goes into this like shows everybody who they are and everything and
yeah.
like their nicknames and stuff and you can tell that that was supposed to be the credits that ended the movie, like the
Mm.
whole entire thing.
That's true.
So
I didn't
I
think.
wonder if
Yeah, I didn't think
does
about
it
that.
hurt it? Does it hurt it in terms of like the way it kind of was released?
I think you would have to be able to watch the movie at that time. Like I think you would have to be like a Quentin Tarantino fan and going to the movies knowing that hey, he has a movie coming out. I'm gonna go watch it on release day, and then you see the credits and you're like, but the story didn't end. There's still characters that have to be killed. Who the hell is Bill? I've just
Yeah,
seen him play with the sword and
or
And
heard his
heard
hear him just
him.
voice.
talking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
I
just
heard his
basically
voice.
hear him the
Yeah.
whole time.
So you're like itching to understand it, and then you have to wait 8 months to a year before volume two comes out. So I wonder
Yeah,
how those people felt. Like I would be pissed if I went there knowing like I'm
Mm.
watching a Tarantino movie and then it just ends the way it ended, and you're just like, is there a after credit scene that just wraps all this up? Like what's going on?
and also
Or
the
if they
way.
had no, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
yeah. Oh, or
Well,
if they had like some sort of marketing saying, hey, there's going to be a volume one and a volume two coming out. That's what
I
I'm
think
hoping.
I wonder
But
if that was like probably the thing. Like,
yeah,
hey, this is what we decided and stuff, um, and just know that there's a second one coming and everything.
yeah,
If you didn't know that, yeah, I can see where
I'll
like
be
feel like
pissed.
half the story. Like, and what I was trying to say, or what I was thinking about saying, is that the first, as you saw, like the chapters were kind of mixed up.
Mm,
Where like I think in like the first volume, it starts off with like chapter 3 or 4 and stuff.
yeah.
So it's sort of out of order. Like you even see it in the list that she has of like her kill list.
Oh
She
yeah.
The
Oren was
first
already
one is the
crossed
second
off.
one, and yeah, you
Yeah,
already saw one already crossed off, and you're like, oh, so you're kind of wondering as to like, where am I going to see that? And you actually don't even see that until the
yeah.
second movie. So, right?
No,
Isn't
no,
it?
no. The end of the first one
I know the
when
first
she
one,
kills
but
Oren. Yeah,
yeah. So, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, but so there's a lot going on with the movie and stuff, and
Yeah.
for me, I don't know if it would have been better or worse if I would have seen it all the way through. Like technically, we saw it in 2 days
Yeah.
and everything, but we're not waiting like 8 hours. Um, but it's interesting.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Patty?
I was trying to imagine like going to see it when it came out. I feel like that's kind of hard. Maybe I'm biased, but I feel like I would have thought, okay, there better be a second one because so far his movies are only just like one installments, like one story, and
Hmm.
then that's it. But this is clearly leading up to a second one. I wonder if there are other movies that he's going to be doing like that. But so far, it just seems like this is the only story that's actually split up in two. And I wonder why. I don't think I've read or found why that decision was made. To extend it into two movies instead of scaling it down and make it into one movie and then leave it as one installment, right? But
It might have been a money grab.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Yeah.
it
speculation,
was a
but
good
it
one.
probably
Yeah.
like
Hey,
it's the Weinsteins are probably like, hey, we can make double the money probably.
milk it.
That's true.
We can have two premieres.
Hmm. I think this is his only movie that I would love to see a third. And I think I'm not the only person that feels that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there
To like,
I
room
don't
for
know
a
if
third?
yeah, the kids. Nikki and BB, the two kids. Like, BB,
Oh,
that's
that's true. Yeah, I was like,
Beatrice's
which
the
other
daughter.
other,
kid?
the
Yeah.
kid that she
What's her name?
orphaned.
And she's,
Vivica A.
yeah,
Fox.
Renette, that she just killed in the in the woman's kitchen.
Well, she was trying not to, but then she
Yeah, but she
somehow
would
pulled a gun out of
bow in the cereal box.
a.
Not even trying to silence it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see like the flip side of that of like the daughter or Nikki,
The
Vivica A.
daughters.
Fox's character's daughter, like going after BB. Like, okay, I'm gonna avenge my mother. That
Oh,
would
Totally.
like
be
how she ends the killing too, where she's like, if you still feel sour about this, like I'll be waiting or something.
mhm.
Yeah, if you still
Yeah,
feel raw, I'll be
yeah.
waiting.
That would be crazy to see. I don't think it's ever gonna happen, but
I don't think
I
so
gotta write
either.
that
And so
myself and then just be happy with it. Like,
exactly. We
Mm-hmm.
already know everybody wants I forget her name, Ethan Hawke's daughter.
oh yeah, Maya.
Supposedly, yeah, Quentin said that if he did make a
Yeah,
third one, it would be her.
that's
Oh,
Uma Thurman's
interesting.
daughter too. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be perfect.
she's a good actress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she's in Asteroid City, the new Wes Anderson.
Oh, she is. Yeah,
Mhm.
Oh,
I
I
was
didn't see
excited.
that. Oh, okay, I'm more excited now.
But it, would you be happy with that being the last film from Tarantino? Because well, I don't know. Like
No,
when
no.
since
So
if he doesn't add it,
mhm.
volume two, then would he add volume three
In my
as like
eyes, I
an
hope
after
not
count?
because he
Yeah.
didn't add Volume Two.
Right.
So I wouldn't want that. Like, I think I would feel robbed if he made that his last movie. I think
Yes,
if,
that,
yeah,
that.
like,
Unless he changes his mind, but he's very intentional about what he does, right? Like kind of
yeah,
like too exact. I don't see him changing his mind. So
mm,
if only he did, and then
yeah,
he made a different one that was his final one, that would be amazing, but not likely.
yeah.
Do you
Like I
think he
said,
has
I
a
just have
volume
to.
three script sitting at his house,
It's probably
Totally.
or like a
started. Like,
screenplay?
if you go on IMDb, there's a slot for Kill Bill Volume Three, and they have like Daryl Hannah and somebody else. So I looked at it the other day because I was like, why is there a Volume Three? So I clicked on it. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
if you look it up, that's true. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Hmm. But all right, all right, Patty or Kai. Patty can go first. What would you take as like we can kind of see them as one movie,
Yeah.
or you want to
Mm-hmm.
take them as two separate movies. That's totally fine. But what would you see as your like positives, the things you loved or liked about these
You can start off, Patty, if you want.
Um, I'll start off with some of the things that I liked before because I've seen them a couple of times. They're two of my favorite movies, and then having seen it recently, all the colors. I think every movie has like every one of his stories because it's not just like a film or a movie; they really are a story. They have certain colors that pop, and overall, they each movie has the colors more a little more dramatic, right, on the filter. But the music,
Mm,
and Jason's gonna definitely comment on that because we had different thoughts, different arguments. But the music for each scene, that's one of the things that I like about his movies. But with this one specifically, um, because sometimes it feels like the music that you're choosing with the scene is in sync or in conjunction, like kind of like what you expect, something dramatic, and there's like a dramatic sounding music. But
mm,
then there are some scenes that are totally opposite, something a lot more fun, something a lot more different, and that's what I like because it kind of your brain or what you're thinking is recognizing this song is different and what I'm looking at doesn't mirror that, but I'm still engaged and I'm still here and having fun.
yeah. Didn't that happen in one of the fight scenes?
Hmm.
Okay. I was trying to remember exactly which scene. It was like an intense scene, an intense song, and then went to like super fun or vice versa. And it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
like
someone's getting their head
for the
chopped off.
first, yeah, with
The Lucy
Oren.
Liu one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those
with
are
Oren,
the
yeah,
two scenes that were the most different when she was fighting the army, and then when she's outside fighting Orin, just
yeah.
themselves. The music was different.
So I watched. So that scene at the end in the snow was based off of Lady Snowblood, and it's like a very, very close copy. It's I still love that fight at the end and Lucy Liu getting a chunk of her head chopped off or cut off. But after watching Lady Snowblood, it's like, wow, this movie. I see why it inspired him, but I'm like, this is a beautiful movie also outside of watching Kill Bill.
I've never heard of that or seen that.
Yeah.
Lady
So
Snowblood.
yeah, Lady
Yeah, we should
Snowblood.
watch it.
That's what the reference. So Lucy Liu's character Orin is based somewhat, and then that last fight scene when they're in the snow is based off of the movie
They did
or
say that,
reference to
right?
the
That
movie.
like the anime section was based. I think that was in like the credits. The when they like do the whole like storytelling of like Oren. There's like an anime section
Yeah,
where
the
they
anime. Yeah,
yeah.
Hmm.
I wonder what. So every time I've watched this movie, I've always tried to figure out what the intent of the black and white versus the color means, because like the opening for both are in black and white, which is the wedding, and then the gang fight scene is color, black and white, then color. So I've always wondered what the intent of that was.
What did you think right away? Like you noticed it, and then what were your first thoughts?
I don't know. It kind of threw me off. Like at least the
Hmm.
first time I saw it, it threw me off. Like, what's going on? Now
And
that
then
I'm
what do you
older,
how does it shift when you're watching the scene?
it like now thinking about it, it may be she's now in like a focused mode or she's in her head. And that's how I think about it now. Like the first time I saw
Hmm.
it, I was like, what the heck? But now I'm like, okay, maybe she's just in her head or more focused on what's going on. Is that
Is
Yeah.
what
that what you think, Patty?
Yeah. That's exactly
okay.
what I think. And it's the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing when you see photographs or you go to an art gallery and there's pictures that are in color, there are pictures that are in black and white.
Mhm.
It's dramatic in the sense that it makes you think like what's going on here? Like why isn't there anything? Because it's forcing you to just look at one thing and your brain wants to take in everything else. But really it's just forcing you to look at one thing. And we're not used to focusing on one thing.
No.
Um, Day to day or during the day with things we're noticing a lot. So it forces us to actually be like confused
Okay.
intentionally, I think.
Wow.
At first, I thought it was a time like it was to show the time shift, like
Mm.
the
Like the
flashback,
wedding and the
like the
yeah.
wedding was in the past and everything, and to show like where we are in the timeline.
Hmm.
But yeah, like you said with Kai with one of the fight scenes, it kind of mixed it up where it's like
Hmm.
that the use of the color shift in that fight scene broke up the rule that you kind of created in your head that like
Yeah.
oh everything you see in black and white is in the past,
Hmm.
but it does make sense that like it would be something just to kind of focus you Because I think no matter what, like we've seen quite a few movies in black and white recently. Just doing this
Mm-hmm.
podcast, it kind of like it's almost like a
Focus.
shock to the system where you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, like there's a lot of contrast,
Hmm.
and especially when like movies like Persona, um, what was another movie that we watched?
I was
Persona
trying to.
was intense.
Yeah, Persona was enough.
Seven Samurai too, where it's
Yeah.
like where
Mm.
you see the shift in tone and everything,
Yeah.
and I think that could be what Tarantino was like. I just and also if you see that his like I see this movie. What I liked about the movies is that they're like almost like a melding of a martial arts movie
Hmm.
with like a western,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
where you kind of have that kind of play together, and you saw it with like also he kind of introduced like the anime aspect of it,
Yeah.
where it almost kind of showed that like, all right, if we're gonna do a martial arts film, then martial arts and kind of like that whole aspect does kind of have a history with anime. So he was
Hmm.
like, might as well just kind of have it built into it too. And
Sprinkle this in here real quick.
yeah, and it was a good way to show that story and add blood
Yeah.
in a realm that like I think that like whole time when she's fighting like the whole like what is it, the crazy 88
Crazy 88.
like
Yeah.
army, like there was a lot of blood, but it would be different if there was that same amount of blood from like the anime in like
Yeah.
the real life. So I think it was a good way to show that blood, but also kind of tell the story of like where how she became like what she's like the leader of the Yakuza at that
Yeah.
moment and all that stuff. So
I don't think I don't think that scene would have came across the same way if it wasn't an anime or if it wasn't animated. There
you
was just
think,
something
yeah,
of yeah, there was something about
Totally.
like watching that scene and seeing this girl have to watch her parents or her family get murdered and then her almost getting murdered under a bed. I don't think seeing that like with actual people would have came across that same way. You would have been like, wow, this is dark. Like that's a lot of blood. This is dark. But watching it in anime form, it's like, okay, it takes away, at least in my eyes, it took away the harshness of it.
it probably would have
Yeah,
toned
actually.
down the character too, the
Hmm.
characters, because a lot of the characters that came into the anime scenes were similar to the characters we saw. A lot of them are over the top, but
Yeah.
I think you were able to kind of like stylize them to be almost more just monsters and everything. Like
Hmm.
they were extremely over the top and everything. So you're able to kind of build that into their character and the way that they're drawn to kind of be almost like more kind of morphed into these scary things and stuff. And that probably would have been toned down if it was a real person, a real
Yeah.
thing,
I
almost
agree with that.
like an early Sin City. Like Sin City, I think did it well, where like you have like these over the top characters in a real life situation, but
Mm-hmm.
where there was a lot of like prosthetics and stuff, and you knew there was a lot going on.
And they had such a, uh, I go down rabbit holes of stuff, not to go on a tangent, but
All
uh,
attentions.
Robert Rodriguez, the director of Sin City, I didn't know he was the director of Spy Kids until like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah, that blew my mind. I was like, he did Spy
that's
Kids.
so
I love Spy
cool.
Kids. Uh,
Yeah.
but he has a book about how he made El Mariachi for like $7,000. The
Whoa!
first one,
That's what's
like
up.
the short film, and then he like remade it. I believe it had slightly bigger budget, but like so he had a book or has a book, and then he made a 10-minute film school, and he breaks down because they have him on YouTube, and he breaks down like how he was able to film El Mariachi for super cheap. And then what was the other one? What was his second movie? With was it Once Upon a Time in Mexico? With Antonio Banderas? Or am I tripping?
Is that
Whatever his next movie
Desperado.
was. Desperado, there we go. Uh he has another 10-minute or 15-minute film school with talking about how he made that one and like breaking down an action scene and how cheap it was for him to do it. I'm like, this guy's a genius.
You gotta start somewhere too. Like,
yeah.
isn't Danny Trejo
Definitely.
in Spy Kids? Like, is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
probably that's how he like convinced them to?
He's like, hey, well, he had him in El
And
Mariachi
yeah, right.
or
In
Desperado, one of the
Desperado,
two. Yeah.
yeah,
He's like, hey, I need an uncle.
that's probably the one movie he doesn't die in.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
No, he couldn't
Interesting.
die. Not in that one, at
He
least.
probably was
You
trying
can't
to
kill
convince
the
them.
uncle.
He's probably trying to convince them. I have to die in every single movie I'm in. Come on, let's try to build
It's
it
like
in
that's the
there.
deal. That's my
Let's show the
that's
That's
my
children
on my
that this
rider.
happens.
Come on.
the book is Rebel Without a Crew.
Yeah, yeah.
Rebel Without a Crew.
Hmm.
I have to put that on my my
Short
reading
read.
list.
Yeah, short read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Still taking
Or you
that
can just
one
watch the
myself.
10-minute film school. He goes over the same stuff. So I started the book and I was like, hey, 10-minute film school.
All right,
I'm a
well, Kai,
visual
send me the link and
person.
then I'll
Yeah, I got you.
I'll watch it tonight before bed.
But yeah, after my tangent, I'll get into what I liked. I already touched on like the black and white. I really liked how both movies open in black and white,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and how they didn't really give too much of the wedding away, other than it was a massacre in the first one, and then you were able to build on that in the second and get a better understanding of like what was really going on. You find out it's a rehearsal. You're like, okay, Bill shows up to it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. Um, but I have my notes broken into both. So I have like volume one, volume two notes. I love the kitchen scene, the kitchen fighting scene with Vernetta. I love that scene. Every time I watch volume one, I'm just like, yeah, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And then in volume two, that RV scene is, for some reason, I've seen both movies multiple times before, but I always forget about volume two.
Mm.
But I like remember pieces of it. I'm like, oh, wow, this scene, and oh, she got buried, and then she kills Bill.
Yeah, I forgot she got
But
buried.
I can never remember like every single scene. So when I was watching it yesterday, and the RV scene came, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen this, but this is intense, and I love it. So yeah, that was
Wait, which one? Where like the RV scene's kind of broken up. I feel like her getting buried is like you almost kind of like lose that with that. That's kind of like an intermission to like the RV scene because they go
yeah.
back to the RV. Um, but
Well, I
when he
mean the
gets like
RV when he gets bit by the snake, and then
yeah,
all of that plays out, just like
everything else after
when he
that,
Just all the way
it's
yeah,
through.
freaking intense.
that's the RV scene I'm talking about. Yeah.
Well, even like when it opens up with the RV scene where she just thinks that she's gonna be able to open the door
Oh, and he just said,
and she just gets
"Poof!"
blasted.
Yeah, I was like,
Like, lady, you saw his feet there. Like, come on.
yeah.
I was
I
thinking
feel
at the
like that
time in the
buried
movie
alive
too.
scene is like really intense because
That
it's like
one's. But
you hear
how in
everything.
the hell did she get out of the hole?
Yeah, no, it's like
Like,
she does the thing, but you
yeah, I
know
get that part. Once she gets
once
out,
everything
all of
starts to
that dirt's
go,
coming down. Yeah.
yeah.
I
I
know
think
It's good.
it
Mythbusters
should
did
have
that,
buried
right?
anybody, would have been impossible, but
hmm But not Beatrice.
not for not for kiddo.
Superhuman and everything. There's a Ryan Reynolds movie called Buried.
Oh,
Super
goodness.
intense. I think it's
Really?
Ryan Reynolds. Like he's literally like he's buried alive, and it's like going through. And
He's
I
not
don't know if it's
laughing
like
the whole time?
no, it's intense and everything. And,
Which one are
like
you
literally,
thinking about?
like
It is
it's called
Ryan.
Buried. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I
Yep,
saw
it's
it.
Ryan.
It's like literally like
2010.
I don't
Wow.
know if it's like one of those movies that like Tom Hardy's in this movie where like he's driving
Mhm.
and the movie is like 100 and like an hour and something minutes long, and it's like literally how long he would be driving if he drove it out in real life and everything. Like that's
Wow.
like that was what the director wanted to do that to film. And I think I don't know if like the movie that I'm referencing, Buried, is like it's sort of like that where like everything takes place inside of that coffin that he's buried in.
What?
It's just
Bro,
like
that sounds
everyone's worst nightmare.
crazy. What? That's like
You
127
could
hours. Like, this seems
Oh
like
my
the
god, yeah.
worst thing in the world. Like,
Yeah,
I'm about to look up Buried.
it's pretty intense. And it's Ryan Reynolds. Like you're not expecting it probably.
No, I'm thinking he's going to make dick jokes.
He might. I don't know. You never know.
One of those actors that you have to remember that he can have a range, he can do other stuff and not just be
He's yeah,
funny,
he's
like Will Ferrell.
multifaceted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
Oh, Will Ferrell.
he can do
Um,
both. He can do both.
I forgot to touch on the bird's eye view shots. All the bird's eye view shots I really like
Yeah.
in Vernetta's house, and the restroom was kind of weird, but the restroom, and then even in the before they had the big fight. No, I'm tripping. There was another one. Oh, it might have been the RV. They might have had one in the RV.
Yeah, you just see that he kind of like we talked about Jackie Brown, where there was like a cool
Yeah,
scene where like he drove around and it there was like the
just
shot
craned
almost
up
kind
and
of
went
rose
around.
up and you
Yeah,
saw kind of the expanse of
Hmm.
the shot. You can tell he did more of that
yeah.
and expanded on like his like skill to do that and everything. And yeah, I think his ability to kind of do filmmaking, you can tell like just from seeing like movie number one and then all the way across, you can tell
It's
just gets
consistency.
like like monumentally better too.
Yeah,
Like it's almost like tenfold, where it's like movie one and then tenfold movie two and stuff.
yeah.
And so, and granted, I guess it's like it's nice to see that like if someone gives you free reign, I guess like the one thing they probably told him with this movie, like, hey, just chop it up into two.
Yeah.
He was probably pissed, but he is able to do whatever he wants basically.
Hmm.
Or so we hope.
Now I think
So
now he can do whatever
He got to show a
yeah,
lot of
yeah. Oh
toes.
yeah,
I think
we're
he's okay
expecting
he
a
wants.
masterpiece. No
with
pressure,
the last
Quentin.
one.
Yeah,
I'm excited. Whatever it is, I'm excited.
it's gonna be a
Yeah.
children's movie.
Yeah, it could be that. I would still be excited.
No, I think they already announced what it is.
Did they? I
No.
know he's done
Yeah,
with it.
yeah, they
He's
announced what it
officially
Oh,
is
done.
yes.
because they had like a
Yeah.
casting call or something. I forgot
Yeah.
what the premise of it is, but they announced it.
Okay.
So we'll get it in a few years. Well, now it's a writer strike, so we may get it a couple years later
5
than
years
that.
probably.
But yeah,
Now, starting with you, Patty, is there anything you can take away from this movie that you see as a negative or you did not like?
I don't know, actually. I guess one thing.
Perfect.
Perfect.
masterpiece.
Ended there.
Mhm.
Not that this is like a final thought, but it's just like a running thought. There's no like decision. I haven't made up my mind, but it's just something that I'm continuously pondering on. I guess I don't know if it's because of me specifically as a person or me as a person that happens to be a woman, but I think I'm always skeptical of any movie that has the woman take revenge or do all this struggle throughout the movie and show her story. Like, would they show it this way just because she's a woman, or would they show it this way just because they were just telling a story and that's who the character was? Um, that's just something that I'm always wondering or looking at just because I'm curious. It's not necessarily because I'm looking to be negative or trying to um, create an argument where there isn't, but it's interesting. That's something that kind of always pops into my head. In the same way, just to prove that I'm not biased in like a really bad way. It's the same way that any movie that talks about addiction, because I'm a recovering alcoholic and I want to see like, what are you talking about? Are you making it up? Are you genuine? Like that's a story that I identify with. So I want it to be genuine. I want it to be something that you're actually like you mean it, you know?
Mhm.
But so no, I don't think I have like any negative or like anything that I didn't like. Um, and I know that I thought about that the first times that I watched the movies, and now recently, like I just still thinking or wondering, or taking in that perspective. But aside from that personal musing, I don't know. I know what rating I would give it. And it's not like the highest, but that I don't know. It's It doesn't mean like there's anything bad I would take away from it either.
Hmm. I somewhat compare these to Without Remorse, that Michael B. Jordan revenge movie, the
Oh,
Tom
interesting.
Clancy.
Yeah, I was like
Hmm.
wondering if you're like referencing the same one. I was like, is that
Yeah,
or Without Remorse?
like it has that same. Like it doesn't really play. I guess it somewhat plays out similar. Like shit goes down, his family is murdered, and he has to.
Mhm. And he
But he's
almost
attacking the
dies himself.
government. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, multiple
Yeah.
times. So I think, at least for me, like that's because you were saying you don't know if it was if they had a clear intent on like, okay, if this was a man that went through this, if they would handle it this way. But I somewhat compare what Beatrix went through with Michael B. Jordan's character in Without Remorse.
Yeah,
So
actually, it's
at
pretty
least
similar.
that's my thought on that
Whether
one.
or not with this movie coming out in the early 2000s could be that that's
Yeah,
the only way they can show a woman
Oh, that's totally true.
like
Actually,
strong.
yeah,
Yeah,
this was
could be
like,
like that was probably his own that anybody's only way of selling a movie that a woman is the main character
yeah,
and is the one killing everybody or whatever.
yeah.
But like as times change, I think you do have the ability to like use it with Michael B. Jordan's character and stuff and
Or even Promising Young Woman. I don't know if you guys have seen that one yet, but that's about revenge. That got some awards.
that's gonna be on the watch list then.
Yeah.
Promising Young Woman. Yeah.
I don't think I had any dislikes other than the how did she get out the coffin? That's my only
it's
dislike.
supposed to be that.
I
It's
was very
supposed to be
angry
this
about
like
that though.
dramatic and like out of the
Yeah, I
box
know.
and unrealistic.
I was so angry though. Like they took so much time to shoot that. I'm just like, why'd you waste your time on this?
Oh, okay, that's a good perspective actually. They just flew right through it like nothing.
Yeah,
But then she actually,
I don't know. They took the
yeah,
time to explain like where she got
how
the
that
move to
came.
do it
Yeah,
and everything. So like Patty was like, "Oh, is that why they're showing this whole like him kind of like teaching her how to do
the
the
hand thing. Yeah,
punch and everything and stuff?" And it was a good callback, and
hmm
you see as to why she was there too in the first place, like why
yeah.
he was like going to be training her and stuff. But
Like I liked all that, but I'm still just like, man, you guys had to set up a bunch of stuff and then record this and
yeah, right.
edit it. Like, oh,
Yeah. I was gonna add like a half an
he has a
hour
good point.
probably.
yeah. Like, come on.
I don't know. For me, I feel like I don't know. I was trying not to watch this bias because these are not the movies I out of all the Tarantino movies, I would rate these as the ones I did not like most of
Wow.
all, pretty much.
Hmm.
They're my
And even
top.
watching I'm like playing around with this wire, but I feel like watching like Jackie Brown. I feel like I enjoyed Jackie Brown way more
Hmm.
than Kill Bill. I watched Kill Bill Volume 1 a long time ago,
Hmm.
and then I never even had the desire to watch the second one. I don't know what it is. For me, Patty was kind of alluding to it. The music, I don't know. For me, it's just it wasn't the right music to choose for the scenes. I don't know. If it's just like I feel like Jackie Brown's music per scene were
hmm
chosen correctly. And granted, we did talk about like if you choose good music, it's gonna come off as good music.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like it's hard to do that, but I don't know. I think going and watching it, if I would have watched it as one movie, I probably would have been happier with it, knowing that like
So, how do
if
you feel watching it? Because you watched it Wednesday,
yeah
Tuesday,
Wednesday
Wednesday.
Thursday
So, did that
or
make
two.
you did that give you a different insight on the movie?
It was better to process that like because immediately afterwards I'm like these are supposed to be one movie,
Hmm
and it was easier for me to process that yes these are essentially one movie. And that's why I gave both movies the same exact rating,
hmm
because I think theoretically you have to watch them as one continuous movie.
Yeah.
Um, and granted, Tarantino probably had to live with the fact that like, oh, he had to release them a year apart and everything.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I think there's no way of going around it. That like you essentially have to watch them either back to back or at least within a day
Yeah.
to kind of enjoy the entire story of everything, and especially like the build up of like, especially the way he's kind of editing everything. Everything's kind of jumbled, where
Mm.
you're going from like chapter 3, chapter 1, chapter 5, or whatever. So you're kind of bouncing around the timeline. I think that works most of all when you're able to show the timeline all at once. Um, in the moment when you're watching it, like probably back then in the early 2000s when it came out, I would have gone crazy probably, and that's probably why. Where it's like you didn't have this finality, like you knew that it was going to continue, and then you're like, what if he would have died or something like what? And then you like, he could wouldn't be able to put together the second movie, and then you're like, you're fucked.
Man.
Somebody has to leak the script online. You just have to read
Right.
through it. Ooh, this would have been so good.
I think that's my biggest gripe is that like yeah, I think these essentially should have been one movie, and essentially we can watch them as one movie now.
Yeah.
We have all the time in the world too, probably.
Would you sit during a movie if it was actually like more than
4
3 hours?
hours.
If it was four, would you
Actually, it's funny because like one of our biggest
watched
gripes
it?
of Tarantino movies is that they're really long sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Jackie Brown
And
was long.
yeah, Jackie Brown was fairly long for the story. Like it was basically a heist movie that was 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
art.
Exploitation
It
heist
can't be short.
movie.
That's not the kind of story that it is.
but it's
It
true
needs
because
room.
Tarantino, no matter what, knows that he likes to build the moment and
And
actually
the
have the
dialogue.
audience
Yeah.
sit in the moment.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
why
that's
he
true.
has a lot of like monologues. I don't even know if like people would even call them monologues for Tarantino, where it's like it's just dialogue for him
Yeah.
probably.
It's just two people just
And he's
having
like,
a
I'm just
full-on
telling
conversation.
one or two people to talk,
Yeah.
and you
We
could
talk
you
about
can probably
hamburgers.
you can say that probably Samuel Jackson's character in the Kill Bill series probably had like that was a monologue.
Yeah.
But because it was literally like 5 minutes of like even Patty was like, is that
I was
Samuel
That
looking.
messed
I
Jackson?
me
was
up
looking
too.
at him. I was like,
That's Samuel, right? That
because he
messed
had
me
like
up. I was
half his
like,
face.
no.
Yeah.
Like he's
Half
in
his
every one of
face
this man's
hidden.
movies.
I know, right? But in terms of the grand scheme of things, what do you rate them? We can start off with you, Patty. In terms of in Letterbox, we give them a star rating of 0 to 5, 5 being great and everything, or like a masterpiece, perfect. But in terms of you, do you rate them the same across the board, or one better than the
All the same. Actually, I hadn't thought about separating them, but the same. I would say 4.5.
4.5?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I actually gave him different ratings. I
Mm.
gave I gave volume 1 3.5, then I gave volume 2 a 4.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I gave both a 3.5,
Mm.
which is nothing to scoff at for a Tarantino movie either. But I think both. I think there's for me it would be hard to give one a rating different to the other, knowing that
Yeah.
like, it should have been one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we also asked this question, and Patty and I are creating our movie collection all at once, probably. But if you had your own personal movie collection, would you buy this for? Would you buy these two movies for your personal movie collection? And also, would you recommend the movie to someone that has never seen a Tarantino movie or the Kill Bill series?
Oh yeah, I think this would be the first two that I would recommend, and it's in my collection. I just bought them.
You did?
No, I'm just kidding.
I was like,
But we're gonna.
I was
We
like,
talk about
I don't know
this.
what you're doing downstairs. You're like clicking away.
It's on Amazon. And ordered.
Multitask.
It'll be here tomorrow.
But what about you, Kai?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would definitely recommend them, and then I would also purchase them because I think you and I spoke about having like a full-on Tarantino collection.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
For me right now, I probably wouldn't buy them unless they were sold with all 10 movies or all
yeah,
whatever,
that's what we
however
talked about
movies.
last time. Yeah,
Yeah. I
Yeah,
wouldn't go
someone
out
in
my
your
way
house
to
bought
buy
them.
them separate.
or
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Or that.
But I would recommend them. I think they're like a cool story because it's a martial arts story that's
Hmm.
combined with some elements of a western and this revenge story, and it does fit the bill for our theme for this month is strong female protagonists and
Hmm.
everything. And I think Uma Thurman just kind of like knocks it out of the ballpark,
Perfect.
and
Yeah.
everyone else around her too. They're all kind of at the same level. Where like
Daryl
Vivica
Hannah.
A. Fox and stuff, Daryl
Yeah.
Hannah,
Yeah.
Lucy Liu and stuff. And so
Michael
there's a
Madsen.
lot of, huh?
Michael Madsen.
Yeah, there's a
Old
lot of
boy from
people.
Waterboy. That still blows my
Yeah,
mind every time I
yeah,
see
that's
him. The guy
the
from
guy
Waterboy
that
that tried to have
pays.
sex with her.
Yeah, that pays to like have sex with her when she's
Got
like
his
in a
like tongue
coma.
bit off.
He's from the Waterboy.
Hmm. He's in most
He's
Adam Sandler movies, but yeah, he's a Waterboy guy.
yeah, he's the guy that like
With
speaks like really like under his
yeah.
yeah.
Gotta watch it again.
Yeah, if you watch it again, you'll be like, oh,
Yeah, you totally know who he is.
yeah. I have a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any way of making a good movie without blending multiple, not styles, but multiple genres? So we talked about this being a kung fu, western, revenge film. A lot of people say that at least the original Star Wars were western, sci-fi, something else. Do you think there's a way to have just a genre specific movie that is talked about as much as like a Star Wars or a Kill Bill or any Tarantino movie? Every single one of his movies is multiple genres mixed in one.
That's a good question.
That's
Kind
difficult
of like
because
staying in one lane, right?
Hmm.
I think it's because that the reason why we talk about those big movies is probably because they combine multiple genres together.
Yeah.
Is it almost kind of like you can almost once you start to expand your story like Star Wars,
Hmm.
where we some people love sci-fi, but some people also love westerns.
Hmm.
If you give those groups of people one product, they're gonna be able to find something that they love.
Yeah.
But also, did George Lucas go out of his way to write a movie with the deliberate I'm making a space western?
I
Was
think
that
so.
his, or
Yeah, I
was
think
it,
so.
or is that something what like most of us will kind of pick from the movie? Like, oh, like this is totally a western. This is like a sci-fi movie. Like it makes sense looking back on it, but did
Hmm.
George Lucas go out of his way to?
I think so. I saw some. I'll have to find the clip and send it to you, but there was something about his intent when he made the movie. Like, I want to make this type of movie. And I forgot what movies he referenced. He was like, yeah, I want to blend these together. And I think it was similar for Indiana Jones, too.
Mm, okay.
I still can't believe he made it.
Mm.
He wrote Indiana Jones.
And he pretty much wrote Star Wars, right? Like,
Yeah, he wrote and directed Star Wars. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I think you see that with Tarantino also is that when you're able to write and direct the movie yourself, you have the ability to meld together
Yeah.
genres. And
Jordan Peele is doing that now.
Jordan Peele, yeah, they're not just horror movies; they're a lot of other things.
Yeah, comedies, horror, thrillers, epics. Just like,
Yeah, sci-fi.
yeah, freaking
Jordan Peele is
spaceship.
amazing. Just thinking about each movie.
But it's like a Tarantino type
Jeez.
of run. Like, every movie is similar but different, and they all fit within that same world.
Yeah,
Like, you can see Beatrix in Once Upon a Time and be like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, I get it.
and he does say that
Hmm.
they're not essentially living all together at once, but it's like this whole like story that like the
It's a
people in
world.
Pulp Fiction will watch a movie that's
Yeah,
called Kill Bill. Like it's not necessarily that like Uma Thurman's character is real
be
in
there.
the Pulp Fiction
Yeah,
realm. It's like a movie that they would have made in the Pulp Fiction world. So it is like a universe, but it's like a shared multiverse of like, like Tarantino's really like the first like I did the multiverse like multiple times
before
in my
you.
movies.
This multiverse stuff is easy. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I wonder if you
That's funny.
go in with that intent though, like, because thinking about, since we mentioned Jordan Peele, thinking about his movies, he's mentioned, or someone's mentioned, the fact that the fast food restaurant in Us is the same fast food restaurant that's in Nope.
That chicken joint, right?
Yeah, Chicken Joint. There we go.
Yeah.
And like, so he has the same universe or same world type of thing as well. So I wonder if that's something they go into it like, okay, when I start making my own films, I want it to be just a big world. I'm going to make sure I continue to always have this piece so that when someone watches my films, they see like, oh, that was in the last one. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's an intent when they go into it.
But I also wonder if
Maybe
like it like grounds the movie.
That's true too.
totally.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, maybe when you're really passionate about something and you have like one idea, but you're that passionate about one idea, you want to keep working with it and you're just not done with it. That's
Mm.
why, maybe that's why Jordan has the chicken joint in two of the movies. Like, there's just a lot of things that are connected. He was like, I want to do it this way, but now I want to do it this way. It's kind of stemming from the same interest or same idea, the same story, but he's like spinning it this way, now this way, now this way, because he's just not done with it.
Yeah.
Quentin's the same, that they're all really like spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
There's a cowboy in every movie.
Everyone. Yeah.
Cowboy S. He's not done. Like, that's his passion. So it's in every movie.
Oh, Sam Raimi does it too with the car. Forgot about that. He has that same
um,
car in all of his films.
does
I
he?
think it's the guy
Hmm.
that's always in his movie.
Uh,
Who plays the main character in Evil
Evil.
Dead?
Um, uh,
I forget that man's name.
something Campbell. Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
So I think it's Bruce Campbell's car.
Like
But it's
that
in
Cutlass or
freaking
something. Like that
yeah, that big
blue
old yellow
car
car or whatever. Yeah.
or
It's in
whatever.
Multiverse.
Is
It's
there?
like floating. Yeah, it's floating in Multiverse.
See?
Hey, Easter eggs.
Yeah, right.
Okay, question then for both of you. If you were doing your own movies,
Mhm.
what things would you have in all of them? What would you want to include or have show up in all your art?
I think it would be a location, either a location or a color. Yeah.
I can see that. We're like having like a certain style, like a filter that's like only like you use that. It's almost like a Wes Anderson style where like we look at something now and
Oh, I
it may not
understand.
even be made by Wes Anderson. You're like,
Yeah.
that's
The
a Wes Anderson style.
pastel. Yeah.
Like it just so happens that like Wes Anderson created his own
Yeah.
style basically, and or like it's now a style's named after him.
Yeah.
I think that would be
That's so
more
funny.
like unique to what you do as an
Mhm.
artist. Having things like I said, like ground the characters, like you can do that with anything, like a car.
Mhm.
I remember like back in the day they would do it with cigarettes, like they would have like the
Oh,
same style of
Quentin
cigarettes in like all
Tarantino
the
has that.
movies.
Yeah. The red
Yeah,
apples.
Hmm.
they're like yeah. So like they like I think that's his callback for a lot of the old movies
Mhm.
is that every like old movie had the same brand of cigarettes
Yeah.
that they used in the movies. So I think that's easy enough to do, but having your own style, a color that you always kind of include, I think makes it unique to you most of all.
Would have the cello, either music or like the actual instrument.
Mm.
See, that's a good way to yeah, because you
Yeah.
can have it in different forms. Like you can
Yeah.
have it
Mm-hmm.
there physically as like a tool, or have cello and music
Song.
in
Mhm.
different
Love the cello.
distinct scenes.
That and just trees.
Mhm.
For some way or another, trees have to be in there, especially a willow tree. Willow tree is my favorite tree. I have that tattooed actually.
Ooh, I didn't know that. But all right, Patty. Well, it was great having you for another
Thank
episode
you.
of Saturday Night Popcorn. Now, this is technically going to
Thank you.
be a Sunday morning hangover
Hangover.
edition, so we haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, this will come out on a Sunday. I don't know if this Sunday or next Sunday. But yeah, thank you for being here and thank you for
Thank
taking the
you.
time out of your long day.
Very busy.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
very
know.
busy.
Maya downstairs is shaking in her boots to go for a walk. She
Don't
barely
say the
heard.
W word. Don't
She
say
heard
it. Don't
it. She
say
heard it. Now she's like, "Oh crap!"
it.
But all right, Kai, you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn or Sunday Morning Hangover. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason. I'll be back next week for another one. Bye.
Later.
Bye.